I truly believe that my life changed more in those 2 weeks than in the last 2 years. Yes, at the shelter in Staten Island, I met a young gentleman, Mexican national, who had lost his job and his home due to flooding. And he was there by himself. His parents were in Manhattan, and they were fine. And we started talking, we kind of formed a little bond, and then he eventually started helping my team do our daily activities. And then eventually he became a part of our team, and he was up all night with us and doing just as much work as we did. And it was just amazing to see someone who had been affected by something so devastating take their time to help others when he was in the same position as them. I learned that none of us are exempt, and disasters don't play favorites. And what amazed me the most was these people were so open to talking about their experiences, and I realized that I don't think it was as much of because it was me, the person I am, but because of the patch on my vest. People trust the Red Cross, and that was a great responsibility to feel, and it made all of us rise to the occasion and try and do what we could to contribute. The people we worked with mostly were those who had lost their homes completely, and even some family members. So they're going through a really hard time. And while we were waiting, she opened up and talked about how she was on the second floor of her house, and she hadn't evacuated, and she watched the water rise to the second floor, and she was waiting any minute for her house to collapse. And she got so scared telling us that story, like she was back in that moment. And none of us knew what to say, but I think she was just looking for someone to talk to. And that was hard to hear that. And that was the first time that I think I realized the level of heartbreak among the people that were affected.
But at the same time, she shared with me that now at 79, she was having to apply for a loan to repair her house. There was a concern of collateral, there was a concern of would she be able to pay off the loan. There was a concern from her as well as would she be able to get a loan from a bank at this stage in her life. And I really think that just sharing a little part of my experience that was similar to she and her son's really gave her some solace or some sense of connection. And I think it's little things like that sometimes that people need to hear about or just experience to give them a little bit of a way to say, yeah, I can get through this too. I do what I do with and for the American Red Cross because of its principles. There's 7, but the core of which are neutrality, impartiality, and humanity. Sandy, in its overview, was one of the largest disasters the American Red Cross had responded to. I'm just a reflection of many of the other volunteers that do this 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. Whenever there's a need, we're there, and we're there until the need is over.
When we drove in, it looked like a disaster. All of their possessions from their homes were sitting by the curb, waiting for the pickup. Another lady named Allison told me she lived in a basement apartment. They had some kind of a robocall to tell people to evacuate. The other side of the street got it and she didn't. And she lost everything in her basement apartment. She was in shock. She was very frail. We handed her her meal and she fell to the ground and sat there on the sidewalk and ate her meal. Then we had another girl who came to the truck. It was about 40 degrees that day. It was pretty cold. These people had been without power in the cold for 5 days. And she started looking through the piles of clothes for a pair of gloves. She just said, I just need some gloves. I'm so cold. And Karen, the local lady, took her gloves off and handed them to her. And I got pretty choked up about that. So I got a meal and 2 bottles of water, and I took him across the street to him. And he said, "Thank you, and God bless you." And as he rolled up the street, he started crying, and the tears were rolling down his face. And I just about lost it right then, but I held it together because we were still there for another 2 hours. And there were, he wasn't the only one, but he was the one that affected me the most.
What a difficult situation responding to an emergency can be. You have thousands of people called and being organized and working together on a moment's notice. It's almost impossible for things to work smoothly because of everybody just getting there and just doing their job. And amazingly, out of all that chaos, it happens, those people. It's always an awesome experience because you're helping people. It's wonderful because you're hands-on helping people. It's not sending a check. It's actually putting food in a container, filling it with a meat and a vegetable and some fruit, and handing it to somebody who needs the food. That's incredible, and it's a great feeling. But in life, the Red Cross is not government funded. People think somehow the government is giving the Red Cross money to go out and do this, and that's not true. So we need to keep telling people, this is a donation. If you donated to the Red Cross, thank you, this is what's helping you. And that we just have to keep doing that.